I have a lot of conversations with people, and on the surface, what they want is a really good build or renovation experience. As I dig deeper, though, what I tend to understand is that they want to have a really upsetting or shitty renovation process. So I understand very clearly that there is a lot of content out there for those that want to be in this category. The information we're going to go over today is more so for the people that want to be in this category, because there probably just isn't enough good information out there to make sure that you have a terrible experience. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ways that you can really screw up the build and renovation process, but today we're going to go through my top 10 favorites. The first thing we want to make sure that we do is we do not consult with a builder first. What we really want to do is we want to make sure that we get advice from our neighbors or our friends or a cousin that may have an opinion, has probably never gone through the process at all before. For anybody that has not been through a process and ended up in a really bad position, we should probably get advice from them. Now, my second favorite way to make sure that you have a really upsetting build process, and it might seem like basic knowledge to some, but this is often underlooked. Now, we want to make sure that we have zero design, right? So we're going to take our red pen and we are going to forget about that altogether. If you go through with the design process, then it gives your builder too much of a chance to be successful. It gives them too much opportunity to price things properly. It gives them too much of an opportunity to select trades that they want to use on the project. And it gives them too much of an opportunity to develop a scope of work that is going to closely align with what it is that you want. So for that, number two, I recommend zero design. If you do decide to go through with design, which some do, then I would recommend make sure that you absolutely do not hire the builder that you've been working with through the early design stages, right? So let's just make sure we get rid of that as an option. Now, why would you want to go through the build process with somebody that's been involved with the design from the very beginning? Well, the reality is that person probably has too much of a solid grasp on your project to begin with. They've been involved in early conversations. They've been involved in trade selection. They've probably provided advice throughout the process as far as construction best practices, how to lay out HVAC, how to lay out lighting, and just overall have a really good sense of how the project is going to come together. So if you want to make sure that you are going to end up in this category up here, do not hire the builder that you've engaged with throughout the design process. Now, for those of you that have been through a good process, one piece of advice that somebody would give you would be to get references. Now, why would you want to go and get references if you're looking to have a poor building process? Well, if you get references from people that have done work or people that have hired the building company that you're considering taking on doing the project, then you're probably going to get good feedback from what that was like. And here, we don't want good feedback. We want bad feedback. Or even better, zero feedback at all. So it's for that reason why zero references is number 4 on my list. Coming in at number 5, we want to make sure that the builder that you choose uses zero type of CRM system or project management software, because technology has not gone further than columns, rows, and spreadsheets. That will 100% always be the tipping point of technology. And we're not in the business of making things better. We want to stay with things exactly how they are and how they've always not worked. If your builder approaches you and tells you they have a CRM system or a good project management software program that they are using, right there, that is a red flag. By under zero circumstances do we ever want to get the scope of work and price into a contract. If your builder approaches you and they want you to sign a contract, know that they are just trying to screw you. Because a contract, all it does is set the terms and conditions in which we are both as the builder and you as the client are going to adhere to. It's what you understand are going to be the deliverables versus the outcomes, the cost and the time associated with those. So we want to have zero indication of budget or schedule. And we actually want to have really little legal ramifications to back that up. Under zero circumstances do we ever want to have any kind of robust contract. That would just make too much sense. Now, some builders are going to tell you that they have a good communication plan or a good cadence for communication. But the number one thing why builders and clients are successful working together is communication. So if your builder tells you that they have a plan for communication, absolutely forget about it. Communication is just a buzzword, and we want to forget all about that altogether. Now that we've knocked communication off of the list, I want to get into training and certification. So a leading indicator of success is that they provide adequate training for themselves and their staff. It's probably a really good idea to make sure that you hire somebody that does not have any sort of training. We want them to have zero certifications at all, because that means that they are likely good at what they do. It likely means that they have put in time and effort into something that they care about deeply, and they're passionate about making sure that your project is going to be a success. So we're just going to go ahead and make sure there is zero training. You want to ask around, and if your builder is involved in the community at all whatsoever, run for the hills. So if your builder is involved in any sort of community initiatives, that to me is a big no-no. Now, last but not least, this is probably the biggest leading indicator that you are going to have a successful project. You probably want to go with a price that makes sense. Now, in this case, if we are looking at summarizing all of these first 9 items, it can all really be looped into one leading indicator, which is the lowest price. If you're talking to builders and you're finding a cost that is significantly lower than the rest, make sure you go with that one, because that is a surefire way to make sure that that builder does not have any of this. And that is going to be a surefire number one way to make sure you end up here. I hope that this content has been super helpful today and that you're successful in ending up being incredibly unhappy. And please, if this content was at all helpful to you, do not share it with a friend, do not like it, and please do not make a comment in the sections below. All the best of luck on your next build.